Oh, that was a lovely track from the past there. Oye, oye. You're listening to Indus here on BBC Radio Manchester and BBC Radio Lancashire. Now to our feature, Rid the Did. Did means tummy in Punjabi for those who don't know. And tonight we look at how to bust that belly. And if it's anything like mine, we've got our work cut out, basically. But to help me with that tonight, I'd like to welcome Nisha Srivastava, who's a health and wellness expert who specialises in Pilates. And she's going to talk about tackling bloating and belly fat. Welcome to the programme. How are you? You're right?
I'm well, thank you, Talat.
Good. I know you're suffering a slight cold like me as well today, but thank you for taking time out. Last time you were, you had me on the floor doing some exercises, and hopefully not none of that tonight.
Yes.
But just remind us a bit about yourself, because you're not new to this game. You've been doing this for quite some time, haven't you?
Yes, Talat. I've been in the health and wellness business really for over 20 years, and I specialise in Pilates and yoga and well-being, and I now have a particular attention towards pain and healing people. And my background was originally in Bollywood, but of course I live here, so you have to earn a living. So my passion is Pilates, yoga and well-being. Right,
okay. And now you mentioned Bollywood, and I'm sure people are going to ask you, what was you doing in Bollywood? So just remind us, even though I know, but just remind our listeners.
Well, I worked for Sunil Anand, who was Devanand, the late Devanand's son, and Sunil produced quite a few films, and I worked in one of his very famous films called Master, which was martial arts based, and I wasn't doing martial arts, but I was playing the baddie's girlfriend.
Oh, right.
And it was back in the old days, in the 80s, where we only had about 700 Bollywood films turning out per annum. Now it must be at least 3 or 4 times that amount.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a very different Bollywood nowadays, isn't it, from the 80s? Yes, it's a totally
different Bollywood,
so,
yes.
Very sort of competitive and quite a slick industry now,
the
way they churn out all these movies. But you have ventured into the health game. So let's talk a little bit more about how we tackle our belly fat. And, when you see your clients and that, is that the first thing you sort of zone in on now?
Well, one of the things, Talat, is Joseph Pilates, who was back in the old days, he would make clients lift up their T-shirt or their shirt, and he would have a look at the belly. So we don't quite do it like that or look at it like that. So usually people will come to me because they've been told by their GP, their chiropractor, maybe their surgeon, that they need to improve core strength. So that's the first port of call when they come to me. Now, doing a few exercise does help a lot of people, but unfortunately, if you have inflammation in the gut, it doesn't give us the facility to use those core muscles as much as we should do. And Pilates is usually advertised as flatten your abs. Well, there is no direct pathway to reducing belly fat. So you can't reduce belly fat through doing exercises. Belly fat has to be started, and flat abs has to be started in the kitchen, full stop.
Right, okay. Because often we see adverts on TV saying, you do this and you'll have a lovely flat stomach, but it's not as simple as that, is it? It's all about diet control.
It
initially.
Is, yeah.
So if I stand up and I'm not going to lift up my shirt, but clearly I have what one would describe as a curry belly.
Yes.
Because I don't drink.
Yes.
Excuse me. Bad cough as well.
Yes.
So in order for me to get rid my did, what do you think I need to be doing then? Where should I start? What
we would do, Talat, is first of all look at the stress levels in the body. So if we look in the mirror and we think my body isn't as I should join a gym or I should go on a diet, I would say that's not what to do. I would say you'd have to look at the stress levels, because one of the stress levels, or one of the hormones, key hormones, is cortisol. And when we have too much cortisol, we have that little inflamed ring or spur tire around the belly. And I've experienced that myself when I'm doing too much work or not looking after number one. So I would say the first things that we do are look at the stress levels and then look at what we're eating, because the traditional diet in India and Pakistan was always full of ghee. Now, what's interesting, every time I go to any Asian social function, we are told now not to have ghee, and everything is diet Indian food, diet Asian food, and diet is the worst thing ever. Anything which says diet is nutritionally deficient. And when my grandma used to cook in Lucknow, everything was saturated in ghee and we were all so much slimmer. So it's not fat we need to cut out. You'll never get fat having butter, ghee or coconut oil.
That's quite a statement. People are probably thinking, oh my God, she's wrong. But,
yes, yeah.
what would you say to those people who say,
I
well,
would
no?
say, well, I want you to try it and come and see somebody who is an expert and somebody who's a metabolic typist who can look at an individual, because one size doesn't fit all, and have a look at your carbohydrate content, because your carbohydrates, and especially your processed foods and what we call the white devils, which are white carbs, salt, sugar and your dairy, are what contribute to the inflammation and also storage of the fat. And you just have to go to places like Trafford Centre now and you can see the amount of Asian population which are entertaining their children there in the fast food restaurants, and we have gone away from our traditional metabolic type eating.
Right.
So we are
I'm
not
a bit guilty of that as well, actually.
We are not designed to eat that type of food, really.
Right. So if we have our sort of traditional curries, so how should we go about it then? What should we be doing?
Well, when we have our traditional curries, first of all, they need to be cooked in ghee. We can use fresh cream because fresh cream is rich in fat. And I would say as well, use the original bones. When we had lamb curry, chicken curry, it was always the original bones and it was always from a pure or what's called organic source. When it's not an organic source, it's not rich in prana, it's not rich and healthy for us. And when we have that curry, we should be having it with roti, really, or perhaps a tiny bit of rice, not too much inflammatory things. And rice is a very, very much big inflamer.
Right. So when you say inflamer, what does that irritate the gut? Is that what causes bloating? I don't know.
It does, Talat. Well, first of all, the body absorbs most of the food through the small intestine. Sugar and alcohol are absorbed through the stomach. So when we take food in, if we're eating too quickly, if we're not chewing off food particles, and we have what's called a dysbiosis of the gut, or the slang word is for it is leaky gut syndrome, it affects our ability to digest and process. We then get a build-up of residue and a build-up of poop in the gut, which causes inflammation. Now, when that inflames in the gut, we switch off our TVA, or it doesn't work as efficiently as it should, and we have that dropped belly. And that's where the saying comes from: an Indian man leads with his belly. And if you look very clearly, and it's not just Indian men, it's a very northern thing and a northwest thing. You'll see people's feet laterally rotate out in order to carry their viscera, because your abdominal and your core support are actually a support network for your viscera. And when your viscera and all your organs are overworking and they become inflamed, you're not going to the toilet regularly, we have this distension or visceraptosis of the organs.
What's viscera exactly?
Viscera is all our organs, so it will be the kidneys, the liver, the small intestine, large intestine, the gut, all those organs. And that abdominal support, which is all the way round, is there to support us. So that's why just doing a few core exercises won't necessarily work for everybody. It's got to be flat abs and core support, and particularly getting rid of pain. And anybody with back pain must start from the diet and the gut wall.
Right, okay. So today's lesson basically is watch your diet, because the sooner you lose fat around your midriff, the next stage would be exercise, yoga, Pilates. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. And one size doesn't fit all, Talat. So I always say to people, find out and find somebody who really knows what they're doing. And my quote for this year is, should sick, tired, broken people be fixing sick, tired, broken people? So a lot of people who work as therapists and in the health and medical profession are sick, tired and broken, so they cannot give the right advice that they really should be. So
and what if someone challenges you and say, well, we're not sick, tired and broken, where we know what we're doing? So
well, if you know what you're doing, you should be a good example. And I can see it physically when I look at your skin, when I look at the colour underneath your eyes, when I see how you move, when I see how you walk, when I see the decisions that you make. They should all be sensible decisions, because everything starts in our gut. And an interesting fact for you, Talat, is 70% of the immune system starts in the gut. So we have a big increase in the Asian population of immune system dysfunction. So, you know, when we look at things like cancer, ADHD, autism, depression, suicide, all these things, they all start in the gut. So gut health is so important.
Right. Now, you mentioned skin colour. So
Yes.
can you tell whether I'm deficient in anything by just looking at my
You
skin?
can see whether you're deficient, Talat. And usually, you know, when you go to anywhere in Asia or even in the Saudi countries, which have been a lot in Dubai, when you look in their newspapers and in their marketing and in their TV advertising, they will always be selling quick fixes that treat symptoms. And one of the things they do is get rid of the darkness underneath your eyes. Now, the darkness underneath your eyes is a mixture of stress, but it's also to do with our organs as well. So when we're dark underneath the eyes, people are always telling me it's hereditary in my Asian background. It's a hereditary in my Greek background. I would disagree. I'd say it's hereditary because you're following the same faulty lifestyle patterns that your parents did, and you're probably overeating the wrong foods, which is causing your liver to overwork, which is causing the circles underneath your eyes.
Right, okay. And do I have some of those circles?
Well, you have a little bit, Talat, but you have told me you've worked very hard this week, and we're only touching on the tip of the iceberg here. We also have to look at other things like hydration, also circadian rhythm, which is your sleep. So it's not just a quick fix. And remember, when we treat the symptom, and this is what allopathic medicine does, allopathic medicine is great at enabling us to go another few months, another few years, but it treats the symptom, it doesn't treat the root cause.
Right, okay. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to you again, but what we're going to do, because we still haven't really touched on Pilates and yoga, so we're going to ask you to come back and maybe talk a little bit more about, once we have achieved trying to get rid of our did, our belly, and then we can move on to the next section, which is exercise and how to maintain the body and the core strength that we need to develop. But joining us in the studio now is Race Khan with Quotation. And what have you got for us tonight?
For God's sakes, don't look at the circles under my eyes. But anyway,
yeah, he's got quite a few circles as well.
Circles everywhere, love. Okie doke. So if you remember last week, I thought I was in a bit of a romantic mood. Do you remember this last week?
You were very romantic last week, weren't you?
So we went with Hussy de Pussy, which literally means if she laughs, which is Hussy. De Pussy means you've got her. Like you've captured us. So it's kind of like that whole thing about the way to a woman's heart is by making her laugh, basically.
Do you speak Punjabi by any chance, Nisha?
No, only a little Hindi, Tora Tora.
There you go.
Tora is good enough.
That's in Afghanistan, isn't it? No.
Tora,
but anyway, so tonight we've got a bit of a cheeky one. Well, I think it's a bit of a cheeky one. This one is Gur Gobar Bona. Okay, now it means, well, let me tell you what it means first, and then I'll tell you the translation. It means when things go horribly wrong. Okay?
Yeah.
So, gur gobar bona. Gur is jaggery. Can you explain what jaggery is?
Jaggery is unrefined sugar.
Unrefined sugar, yeah.
And it's basically the first form of sugar that you get before it's broken down into the white sugar.
Exactly. Yeah. So, gur gobar bona means mixing jaggery with horse manure.
So, which is a terrible concoction.
Exactly. So when everything goes a bit skew, a bit pear-shaped, is gur gobar bona.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of that one?
No, but I know jaggery well, because you can get jaggery at the streets.
Actually, is that good for your diet, incidentally?
Well, the pure form, anything in the form or whatever we eat needs to come at the purest, but it's everything in quantity, and it shouldn't replace your, it shouldn't be a meal replacement.
Right. Even though it's lovely, and if you ever had jaggery rice as well, that's amazing.
Jaggery rice is delicious.
Yeah, gur wale jol, that's really lovely. And I've seen gur being made as well, actually. So that's quite an interesting process when you in the farms. But thank you very much. Thank you to Anisha, and we will speak to you soon as part of Rid the Did. News is coming up next.